As we prepare to venture into the unnerving depths of human behavior, we find ourselves standing at the precipice of a story that is as chilling as it is tragic. A story that begins in the quaint state of West Virginia in the year of 1976. This is the story of Christa Pike, a name that has since become synonymous with youthful transgression and the darkest corners of American crime history. At an age when most teenagers are grappling with schoolwork and navigating the trials of young adulthood, Christa found herself embroiled in a different kind of trial. A trial that would see her become the youngest woman to be sentenced to death in the United States. A chilling prospect, isn't it? But what circumstances lead a person to such a fate? What forces align to nudge a young girl down a path so dark, so irreversible? In today's video, we will walk this path with Christa, from her early years through the heinous crime that changed her life forever, to the trial and sentence that have since sparked countless debates. Join us as we delve into the life of Christa Pike, the youngest woman to face death row in the United States. What circumstances lead a person to end up on death row at such a young age? It's a haunting question, isn't it? A question that nudges us to delve into the labyrinth of human behavior, a journey through a maze of countless factors, from a troubled upbringing to societal pressures, from mental health issues to unfortunate decisions. It's a dark path that one might find themselves on. A path that, once embarked upon, may lead to a destination as chilling as death row. Every story is unique, every life a different tale. Some stories, however, are more unsettling than others. One such tale is that of Christa Pike. Born in the year of 1976 in West Virginia, she is a figure who sends chills down our spines, a name that echoes in the annals of American crime history. At the tender age of 18, she was sentenced to death, becoming the youngest woman to face such a fate in the United States. Today, we delve into the life of Christa Pike, the youngest woman to be sentenced to death in the United States. Born in 1976 in West Virginia, Christa Pike's life was marred by hardship from the beginning. From the outset, her life was a stark contrast to the typical innocence of childhood. The home environment where she was supposed to find comfort and security was instead riddled with instability and chaos, an unsettling foundation that would, unfortunately, come to shape the course of her life. Her struggles didn't stop at her home's threshold. They followed her into her school life, where she grappled not only with academic challenges, but also with the social dynamics of being a young girl in a world that seemed relentlessly harsh. Her school years were far from the carefree days that many of us remember. Instead, they were fraught with difficulties and marked by an increasing detachment from societal norms. In addition to the challenges at home and school, Christa's early life was punctuated by encounters with the law. Even at a young age, she found herself on the wrong side of the legal system. These early brushes with the law were not isolated incidents, but a chilling foreshadowing of the path that lay ahead. They were the grim prologue to a story that would eventually lead her to become the youngest woman on death row. Christa's story is not one of childhood whimsy and joy, but a tale steeped in hardship and adversity. From her unstable home life to her struggles in school and her early legal troubles, Christa's early years were a series of unfortunate events that seemed to push her further and further from the path of normalcy. These early experiences set a grim stage for the horrors that were to come. At just 18 years old, Christa Pike's life took a turn for the worse, forever marking her as one of the most infamous criminals in U.S. history. In the winter of 1995, Christa Pike, filled with anger and resentment, committed an act so heinous that it would forever alter the course of her life. The details of the crime are chilling, but it's essential to recount them, not to sensationalize the violence, but to understand the gravity of her actions. Christa, along with her boyfriend and a third accomplice, lured a fellow Job Corps student into a secluded area. What followed was a brutal attack driven by a senseless rage. The victim was beaten and tortured. Her life ended in the most horrific way. This was not a crime of passion or a desperate act in the heat of the moment. It was cold, calculated, and cruel. Christa Pike's actions on that fateful day were not only shocking, but deeply unsettling. They painted a portrait of a young woman who, despite her age, was capable of extreme violence. It was a stark reminder that evil can reside anywhere, even in the heart of a teenager. The aftermath was as devastating as the crime itself. A life was lost, families were shattered, and a community was left in shock and disbelief. Christa's actions had far-reaching consequences, affecting not just her life, but the lives of those around her. This shocking act of violence was what ultimately led Christa Pike to death row. It's a sobering reminder of the devastating impact one person's actions can have on so many lives. As we delve further into Christa Pike's story, we must remember the victim whose life was tragically cut short and the families who had to bear the brunt of this horrific crime. In the wake of such a horrific crime, the wheels of justice began to turn, leading Christa Pike to her fate. The courtroom was a chilling panorama of grim faces as the trial commenced. The prosecution presented an ironclad case, fortified with damning evidence and key testimonies. Each piece of evidence, each word uttered, painted a picture of a crime so heinous it was impossible to ignore. Among the most powerful testimonies was that of the victim's family, their pain and anguish reverberating through the courtroom. Their words were a haunting reminder of the life that had been unjustly taken. As the evidence mounted, so too did the sense of impending doom. The defense, on the other hand, sought to highlight Christa's troubled upbringing. They painted a picture of a young girl lost in a world of neglect and abuse, but such attempts to humanize Christa fell on deaf ears, overshadowed by the enormity of her crime. The verdict, when it came, was as anticipated as it was shocking. Christa Pike, then just 18 years old, was sentenced to death. The judgment marked a grim milestone, making Christa the youngest woman in the United States to be sentenced to death. A chilling silence swept through the courtroom as the gravity of the sentence sank in. This decision, however, was far from the end. It was the spark that ignited a debate that continues to this day. At the heart of this controversy is the question of whether a teenager, even one guilty of such a terrible crime, should be sentenced to death. While some argue that the severity of the crime justifies the punishment, others contend that the age and background of the offender should be taken into account. And so, at the tender age of 18, Christa Pike was sentenced to death, a decision that continues to stir debate and controversy. Today, Christa Pike remains on death row, a potent symbol of the darkest corners of human nature. Born in West Virginia in 1976, her tale is a stark reminder of how a troubled upbringing can escalate into unthinkable acts. Now 46, she continues to fight for her sentence to be commuted to life in prison, a testament to the enduring human spirit, even in the face of the most dire consequences. Her story sparks ongoing debates about the death penalty, especially concerning its application to those who were barely adults at the time of their crimes. The difference of just 1 year in age at the time of her crime could have spared her from the death penalty. This draws attention to larger questions about our justice system, its fairness, and whether it allows for the possibility of redemption. As we contemplate the story of Christa Pike, we are left to ponder the complexities of human behavior, the power of circumstance, and the enduring question of what leads a person to such a harrowing fate.